Well, good afternoon, everybody. And once again, it's great to be with you. We're now in week 5 of the Leadership Before Directions Masterclass. Today, we're going to talk about the last one, which, of course, is leading yourself. So let's jump right into it. If you want to manage somebody, manage yourself, do that well, and you'll be ready to start managing and leading others. Two things I'd like to stress about that. Of course, remember at the onset, we differentiated between management and leadership, and I think that's fine with this particular quote as well. Secondly, individual human beings, according to sociologists, make up to 500 decisions every single day. So clearly we are leading ourselves, no doubt about it. I always like to say as well, all of us make the same decision or confront the same decision, I should say, at the start of the day. That is whether we hit the snooze alarm or not, and everything goes from there in terms of what kind of socks you wear or don't wear. Supposedly now there's a drop-off in dry cleaning because everybody's in sweatpants, but we have those choices that we make throughout the day. Obviously, we cannot perform at our best if we do not care for ourselves. This affects not only our ability to conduct our own personal affairs and do our own tasks, but our ability to lead and interact others within the members of our group. So that's one reason, clearly, when we talk about leading an organization, why leading yourself is of critical importance. As you think about this, I would argue this is key. This is key. In dealing with the emotional aspects of leading myself, harmony is key. Harmony between the three things that we all kind of deal with. We all deal with all three of these. One, the demands of our profession or our job. And we know as we get older and we move up to higher and higher levels of responsibility normally, that our profession will put more demands on our time. That's just naturally what seems to happen. Second, in no particular order, myself. What does it mean to be me? What makes me different from the person next to me? What are my interests? What are the things I like to do? What are my hobbies? Okay. How is my health? How am I feeling? That's part of being me. And then my family and the demands of my family, and that usually tends to go up some degree as you age, you marry, you have children, the children get older. And I often tell people that, I as a Roman Catholic, part of the Roman Catholic faith is original sin, that God is upset with you for the actions by Adam and Eve. And so he kind of holds that against you. That's part of the philosophy. So I thought about that for a while, and I finally decided, having you all know Tanya, this doesn't affect, not talking about Tanya, I'm talking about I have 2 sons who I love dearly, and they're great guys, but I do believe living with 2 teenage males is part and parcel of God's effort to get back at you. Okay, so that's part of that original sin, part of that family issue. And I often joke around with my 2 sons and tell them sometimes that the one thing that I wish for them more than anything else is that someday they have a child just like them. But the point I'm trying to get at is certainly these things pull at us in all directions, As you hit the middle of your life, I'm a little bit beyond that. Some of you may be, I think, based on what I've seen at your age, about that point, one of the most stressful parts of life is, as a friend of mine who was a psychologist used to describe it, the Oreo phase of life. What's the Oreo phase of life? The Oreo phase of life is when you're still raising children at home, but you're also dealing with the challenges of aging parents. And that can be a very difficult tug and pull while I'm also trying to take care of myself and deal with my profession. So what am I getting at? Well, these 3 things certainly pull us in 3 different directions. When I first started talking about this, we used to talk about this as balance. You must find the balance. And then Tanya and I were discussing this several years ago, and she said something, I've got to ascribe to her. She said, it's not really balance, it's really harmony. Because balance would seem to suggest that, there's a mathematical equation. There's some kind of a formula I can come up with, and I can get all 3 of these things in this particular balance, and then all I got to do is maintain that particular equation, and I'm going to live happily ever after. When in reality, that ain't going to work. Now, things are going to happen in any one of these 3 areas that's going to pull me way over in that particular area. But back to that self-awareness I talked about, in terms of emotional intelligence and leading myself, what I've got to do is be self-aware when I'm being pulled off in that direction, so that I can try at some point to bring the whole thing back into a period of harmony. And how I do that is tricky, I wish I could give each one of you a formula that would very clearly make this work for you, but I'm just not certain that's going to be possible. I was thinking about this over the weekend. I'll share something I was reading that I think is interesting in this particular regard. It perhaps has to do with this harmony altogether, and particularly in the area of profession. And that is, there's a lot of writing, if you read the business pages and even other pages of the newspapers and magazines right now, that this whole idea of working from home that we've all been forced into is just going to take over, and productivity is going to continue to boom. And this is actually great. We found this sort of magic elixir. If everybody just work from home, those who can, some people cannot, obviously by their occupation, it's going to just be great. Well, I got to tell you, I think that's yet to be proven. People are more active, but are they more productive? And I think the time period of about 90 days or so that we've gone on is too short a period of time to validate that this new aspect of profession, family, and me is going to actually be validated. I was reading some analysis by the CEO of Accenture, a woman by the name of Julie Sweet. Now, Accenture is one of the world's largest consulting and professional services firms. And she observed, and I quote here, "Personal engagement remains essential for long-term success. Don't fall in love with the savings on real estate just yet. Be a little careful. Might it change, and might we see people working part from home?" Excuse me. And part from the office, yes. But I still think in terms of their harmony, their need to socially interact with others for their own mental stability, that is yet to be proven. And I'm a little worried that people are running off to the races on this without looking at it more carefully. And then last but not least, I like this quote by Joel Goodman. Everybody has used the impression, someday we'll laugh about this. My question is, why wait? I've tried to be a little bit amusing perhaps in some of these particular presentations. I've probably been totally unsuccessful, and probably jokes work less well, come to think of it, in cyberspace than they do if we were sitting together. But I do think that it has a positive effect on each one of us. I recall myself, I tell people that when I was commanding a battalion during the Gulf War, a very, very, very stressful situation. One of the things that got me through it was I had a very large, very Polish driver named John Baczynski. And Baczynski would tell jokes at the most unbelievably strange moments. When things were really going bad, Baczynski would decide to tell a joke. And as crazy as that sounds, it certainly got me through that. So someday we're going to laugh about this. Why wait?